Welcome to Gold on the Shelf. My name is Stephen Owsley, and we are going to break down excellence in media with depth and wit. That's what we do on this channel. So, with the Emmys on Sunday, let's get into it. I'm going to be posting videos about each category, drama, comedy, and miniseries, and talk about what each nominee the prospects are and break them down a little bit, and then my favorites, some background, lots of personal opinions. Get ready to be offended, or don't. The Emmy nominees for drama 2019 are Bodyguard, Succession, Pose, Killing Eve, This Is Us, Ozark, Better Call Saul, and Game of Thrones. I'm going to break them down in the list of least nominations to most nominations, because the ones who get the most nominations typically have the biggest foothold in the television academy. And the ones that have the least, well, we may not see them again. Number 1, with 2 nominations, Bodyguard. Yes, I want to run to you. But not that one. So, Richard Madden from Game of Thrones, the movie Cinderella, and he had a supporting role in Rocket Man. He's up and coming, and this show is a big part of it. It debuted on Netflix and BBC America. It's about a soldier who has PTSD from Afghanistan, uses it in his everyday life, his military training, and he becomes the personal bodyguard of a member of parliament, a woman who is politically opposite of him. But it's his job to protect her, but everything she says offends him. So the show really becomes about him doing his job and their political interchange, a man who has served in a war who no longer likes war, and she's promoting greater military action. The first episode is great, and then the rest of them happen. At the Golden Globes, Richard Madden won the Golden Globe. And for the first 20 minutes of Bodyguard, I was like, this is the best television ever. But then, like I said, there are more episodes. There's a fantastic show, a Canadian TV show called Flashpoint. A flashpoint is the point in a combat where shots are fired. And the show Flashpoint, which actually had the pink Power Ranger in it, Amy Jo Johnson, is about a team of SWAT team that goes in and tries to de-escalate a standoff or a hostage situation or a bomb situation with mediation, and then to avoid a flashpoint. So it's all high stakes. It's the same kind of feel. I'd recommend Flashpoint. Bodyguard, like I said, the first episode was just great. I watched them all. Number 2 is Succession with 5 nominations. Now, this one really surprises me because Succession is really an actor's piece. Adam McKay won an Oscar for writing The Big Short. Again, an actor's piece. Steve Carell, Christian Bale, Mark Ruffalo. Very rich ensemble. And Vice is very pointed politically, but Christian Bale turned in great work. Amy Adams should have won an Academy Award for that role. Regina King rightly deserved it, but she disappeared for the first time for me. I've always seen Amy as Amy. So Succession is the next step in his career, and it's like King Lear meets the Trump family. Brian Cox is the patriarch. All of his kids are scrambling over his fortune and his legacy. Kieran Culkin, Macaulay's brother, he was nominated for a Golden Globe in this winter for this role. And what surprises me is that Succession has 5 technical nominations, but it's an actor's show, and there are no acting nominations. I have a theory about that in just a minute when we get to a dragon show. But enough about Ozark. And Succession is beautifully done, and the acting, and there are close-ups used very cinematically. So Succession looks like a prestige film told across multiple episodes, but it doesn't have the love yet. And when we get to the next few nominees, I'll tell you what I think is going to happen to that show. Pose is number 3. Great show. 6 nominations. Billy Porter showing up in the acting category, but many of the actresses were snubbed. And I think season 2 will probably broaden the opportunity there. Pose is great. Love Pose. Love Ryan Murphy. And it's a dark horse contender for a show with a handful of nominations to get best drama. It's kind of unprecedented, but it could happen. The Emmys love Ryan Murphy. Gianni Versace and O.J. Simpson won best show in their year. So whatever he touches is, and he's always very timely what he does. Killing Eve. Killing Eve has 9 nominations this year and had 2 nominations last year. Again, Succession could go this route. A show gets on the board, gets some credibility, and then the Academy is like, oh, the other show is off the air. The Americans is no longer here. Let's nominate Killing Eve! And nominate it they did. Sandra Oh is a quadruple nominee this year. She's nominated for producing Killing Eve, as lead actress in Killing Eve, as guest host of SNL, and for hosting the Golden Globes. So she has 4 nominations, which is very, what's the word? Selfish, I guess. And I think Killing Eve could take it. This Is Us. I understand there are many passionate fans of this show. I have tried to watch it many times. It's not for me, and I think it's wonderful. It's got 9 nominations. It has lit up the acting categories. Exciting. And it's been nominated for 27 Emmys across 3 years. It's a favorite, which is it is a network show, and it's about blue-collar America dealing with everyday things. So there's no dragons, there's no drug dealers, there's no big PTSD stuff with like war veterans. So everything else is very loud, and This Is Us is really about a family loving each other. So even though I personally don't jive with it, there's a huge connection for a huge audience for a show with a ton of heart. And every year actors are nominated, like Dennis O'Hare was on there, nominated. Felicia Rashad is nominated this year. Just their casts are really impressive. And I'm looking at my notes. Sorry if I keep looking down. Ozark. I loved Ozark. Ozark season 2. Ozark season 1 was pretty dang near perfect. A lot of snubs because those actors brought it. And there's some snubs this year, but there are some surprises this year that are really special. Ozark has 9 nominations and had 5 last year. Again, another show appreciating at the Emmys. So Ozark season 2 was so good, but there's no internet chatter about it. People aren't talking about Academy Award nominee Laura Linney. They're not talking about Peter Mullen and how overlooked he's always been, and how Jason Bateman is taking a turn from Arrested Development to this role. And he's had Arrested Development, The Fox and Zootopia, and Ozark. Like, he has showed us his snarkiness in such different contexts. And he's a writer, director, producer of that show. Also, he has 3 nominations this year. So, eat your heart out, Sandra Oh. Now, he has 3 nominations for 1 show. Sandra had 4 nominations across 3 shows, so she still wins. As she should. Ozark could take it. Better Call Saul, the spiritual cousin / older brother / younger brother of Breaking Bad. I don't know where you fit, but it's in the family. That same gritty realism that people loved about Breaking Bad is alive and well in Better Call Saul. And the first season was great. Fans of that show have said that it has increased, whereas Game of Thrones, well, we're not there yet. But Better Call Saul's fans are still avidly in love with it. They're decreasing in number, but the buzz increases every year for this show. Could it win? 11 nominations, 32 nominations over 4 years. That means consistent Emmy love and respect and a lot of veteran actors are in that show. Jonathan Barks has his 4th consecutive nomination. Giancarlo Esposito's in there too. And of course, Bob Odenkirk. It could happen. It'd be an upset, but we'll see. So, before we get to number 1 with the most nominations, and probably the most controversy. Oh, who are we kidding? Ryan Murphy's always going to find the way to get the most controversy. But number 1, Bodyguard with 2 nominations. Succession has 5 nominations. Pose has 6 nominations. Killing Eve has 9 this year. This Is Us has 9. Ozark has 9. Respectable, right? Better Call Saul has 11. Game of Dang Thrones has 32 nominations. The record for any drama show ever. In its final season, which may not be its finest season. In its 7 years, Game of Thrones has won 47 awards, half of which were done by Peter Dinklage, and nominated for 160 Emmys. 160, I can't even count that high. So Game of Thrones, I think, has the largest Emmy representation of any drama. It's in every acting category. So they have actors in there, and they have multiple supporting actresses, like 3 Game of Thrones actresses. So half the category is Game of Thrones. I do not think that people... There was very little emotional unity after season 8 aired. And I think if you're a producer, you might think to yourself, more people watched Game of Thrones than any other show. So, if I break the record and nominate Game of Thrones for everything, everyone will come watch. It's not going to happen. I think that Game of Thrones will take home a few legacy trophies. It will win awards it should have won 3 seasons ago. No. It's won Best Drama, I think, a couple of times. Peter Dinklage, nominated again, has won 3 Emmys for this role. That's significant. But Lena Headey and Emilia Clarke have never won. So I think in other categories, legacy actors will, after Emilia Clarke has been nominated for Daenerys for 4 years, or for 4 nominations over the last 7 years, never won. I think the Emmys will probably give it Best Series. I have this feeling in my gut, in my Game of Thrones, that somewhere there's going to be a Best Series win, because records have been broken on HBO, records have been broken here at the Emmys, and I think oddly, there's very little fan support, but tons of momentum for it. And you may not have liked season 8, but if you're a fan of the first 5 seasons, to come watch Emilia Clarke win an Emmy, we would still like it, or Maisie Williams. So what would I love to see? I would love to see Pose take it. I would love to see Ozark take it. Those were the shows that I had the best time watching this year. I would not begrudge Better Call Saul for being a spin-off that has been well regarded and well reviewed, whereas many spin-offs fail. I don't know if any besides Better Call Saul. I mean, Frasier probably won a ton of Emmys after Cheers, but not since then has a spin-off been so successful. You can check me in the comments if you want. So I think Game of Thrones is a lock. Pose, Succession, or This Is Us could upset. I think This Is Us could upset because it has the most, besides Better Call Saul, the most past nominations. So a lot of first-time nominees this year. Very exciting. So what do you think? Did you like The Bodyguard? Have you ever seen Flashpoint? What do you think about no actors in Succession being nominated? And it's because multiple Game of Thrones actors are in every category. So Game of Thrones really pushed out all the other actors. So I think if we didn't have 3 women from Game of Thrones in the supporting drama actress category, we could have had maybe Sarah Snook from Succession or some of the women from Pose or something. That would have been wonderful. So Game of Thrones sucked up all the air in the room. All the other nominated shows have other seasons coming up. And so what do you think? What would you love to see? What show really did you enjoy the most? What surprised you? And what surprised you about these nominations? Let me know in the comments. Please like and subscribe. We're starting out, and I can't wait to connect with you and break down media with wit and depth together. Thanks.